Ryan and I had different mindset about wealth. And so what allowed us to be in the same page and continue to grow together is really reading books together because we were coming from two different understandings about wealth. And as I grew in my understanding about wealth, so when we're reading the same books about the importance of wealth, that changes and that puts us in the same mindset. So it's not about what January wants, what Ryan wants. But even then, there are difficult conversations. Why? Because the 95% of our brain is what's driving our behavior, our emotions. So, for example, when you ask a question, do you want $1 million? What's a lot of money for you? Your spouse could say $100,000 and the wife could say $100 million, and that becomes the source of conversation. Now, the skill about building wealth is so much of the skills that we teach her in the women's school, which is rewiring our limiting beliefs, being growth minded, learning feedback. So all those skills factor in kind of developing and uniting yourself because you need to know how to talk about it. But I think reading the same books together and studying in the importance of wealth. Number two, when you have also a unified role model, that also changes because now you're looking at the same person, now you're studying the same person, and then you're studying the way they're living their life, and that really helps. For example, one of Ryan's role model in the very beginning was Tony Robbins, and so it was really helpful for me to see the way Tony Robbins looked at wealth. And so that helps us because now we're looking and shaping the same vision together. And the third thing I would say is that dreaming together. Now, our Ryan and I's dreams were not always the same. And as a matter of fact, it's not always kind of exactly the same. But I think there is a unified understanding that we ought to live a life of contribution and meaning. And that there's a deep desire for fulfilling and maximizing our potential. And that has helped us align our dreams and our desire for wealth. I think it's grown. Like my perception of wealth was selfish. Make enough money to take care of your family. And I think now I understand that that's a selfish mindset that I didn't realize. I had no awareness. Why make enough money when you should make more than enough money to serve more people? We never think about that as a selfish way to look at it. But if you really dig deep, what's holding us back from making more than enough to serve more people? As a matter of fact, I think that becomes the glue that Ryan and I think share because, we want to make more than enough to serve more people. And I think that fuels our integration and also the importance of designing your life together and dreaming together because you realize money cannot be apart from it. If you want to create adventures for your children, you need extra money. For women, if you're women who are in business here, who aspire to be able to maybe work outside your home if you feel called to in that particular season in your life, or write a book or do something, volunteer, you need help and you need to pay for help. And that requires extra resources. It's one of the most important things I believe in a woman's life is to have help. And I would not be here building the women's school if there was not extra resource to pay for help that would give me the creativity and the mindset I need to actually scale my dreams and what's possible. You need to be studying. You need to be studying. Wealthy people studying what the purpose of money, and make sure you're getting information from the right people who wants to create wealth with meaning and purpose and fulfillment and not hoard it. Study. It is a game changer in a woman's life. Like there's no magic pill. I studied today longer than I did because I went to go work out. And so I was like, I was listening and I'm thinking in my mind, wow, how come I've never learned this stuff? And I've been studying for decades about wealth. And this morning I was like, wow, that is a really profound way to look at wealth. And it was just really just study. That's how, and when I tell women this, they're like, oh yeah, Jane, and they won't do it. It's just like the answer is actually pretty simple and easy. It's pretty simple, but not easy. It's that we don't have the discipline and the consistency to do it because success leaves clues. And part of that is that they study. So that's what I would do first is shift your mindset and make that daily habit, an hour a day. some people fear that with a lot of money they will lose their soul, which is, I think, is a limiting belief. I think that has just been, they've been told to do that money is going to make them be a bad person, or you'll lose your family. I think that's where the fear comes in with money, that money will make them lose themselves. I think that people who lack strong moral character will lose themselves with money. But people who actually have strong moral character and is disciplined, is constantly studying all the things that we teach her in the women's school, you're going to use your money for the good. And maybe you won't all the time, 95% of the time, but if you're continuing to study, you will recalibrate. You really are going to go back to meaning and purpose if you're seeking truth, if you're seeking deeper understanding, because you'll realize it's not fulfilling. So the scary part about money is that I think they fear what money will do to them. So I knew this family that we didn't realize was one of the wealthiest family in the Philippines. They had 3 sons and a daughter. 3 of them were studying to become a priest. I think 2 became a priest, and 1 of them was studying to be a consecrated family. They were so generous in the way they lived their life. They managed what they eat. They were disciplined about their money. They had so much. And this is a great example. We got to know them. We had no idea. They lived this sort of very simple life, simple but rich life. And family, they took care of their family. They were very generous to the community, but they prioritized their marriage. She, I think at the age of 50, went to go back to take her master's. They studied their food. She ate very healthy, he liked nice things, they liked nice things, but they were not attached to it. And it was just this wealth and wholeness. And they used their money to fuel their wholeness and their contribution. That was a real great example for me of integrated wealth. Wealth was never about the accumulation. It was about accumulating as a pit stop towards contribution. And I just think it was a really great example of integrated wealth. It's you make it for the sake of contribution. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't treat yourself to a nice shoes or whatever it is that you might desire. But even then, you think about it with that as a purpose. Whether it's the nice shoes, the nice bag, you don't want to buy and acquire materialism and wealth and money to fuel your self-worth. That means that you don't value yourself. That means that money is making you more meaningful. You want to hold yourself accountable that you're making it not to prove your value, but to actually bring value. And that's a big difference. I would say abundance is first and foremost seen with eyes of gratitude and generosity. And in my mind, this is my interpretation of it, and you can harvest from here. I feel like if God places a desire in our heart for great wealth, then there must be a reason. Now, it doesn't mean that our desires does not need to be purified. Maybe the desire for great wealth became disordered because it was about us, and maybe God wants to put that desire in your heart, but to purify it so that it becomes a force of contribution. I think that actually is a state of purification that happens at every state of abundance. Because if we are to actually think about a God who is abundant, who is the king, then why wouldn't we aspire for great abundance that actually serve his kingdom? And that's the way I see it. I see that the aspiration to achieve great wealth has actually given me great faith in God, faith in myself, faith in other people, because the more you aspire for the bigger thing, the more it actually develops your skill level, the more resilience you need to have, the more it shapes your ability to, I would say, chisel yourself, the more sacrifice there is. Unless it was handed to them, if you see people who have achieved great wealth, there has been a level of sacrifice. Now, for those that people don't have faith, they don't they're not, they don't know. But I think that for those women who have faith here, then I would say, why not aspire for great wealth that then brings value to the world and gives greater glory to God, and never apart from it. I don't think it has to be separate. I think that it has been taught in a separate way. Do we need to purify our attention? Yes. Money, everything. I think we need to purify our attention with the way we think about people. We need to purify our intention when we gossip. We need to purify our intention when we study. Make sure that we're not distracted. We need to purify our heart, period. And wealth is no part of it. I feel like we think of purity of heart as sort of kind of isolated. It has to be integrated in a whole version of ourselves. Um, I just think that there's been a lot of false teachings about wealth, in my opinion, and a lot of it is based on fear. Be not afraid. When you're free to fear money, then you're free to desire it in a way that actually brings greater contribution to humanity. Knowing you're going to fail, knowing you're going to get tempted, but also knowing that you've got a God who loves you, that if you're going to go back to him, he's going to order your heart. It's just so much of it is rooted in fear, I think. So I can tell you this, but you have to journey it. Journey your own and wrestle your own limiting beliefs about money and faith. That has been the biggest awakening in my heart, I would say, is the relationship between faith and money. I don't agree with some of the way that money is taught. And I just think that that has also robbed families, good families, to become a force of contribution, because money is a form of leadership. Money is a form of influence. Money moves things, and we need good people to move things towards the good.